An African American woman wearing cat eye glasses and a white lace shirt faces the camera. She has long twists in her hair and is sitting in a power wheelchair.
Hi, I'm Andrea Levant, and today I'm going to chat with you about conflict resolution and negotiating with difficult people. You have a variety of resources already or information on communication styles and types of conflict. So, we're going to move right into the supplemental resource you have on negotiating with difficult people because that can definitely be something that you experience as a board member or even at work or any situation, quite frankly, when you're going to be interacting with other people. So, I want to go over this PowerPoint presentation that's in your supplemental resources and walk you through what these different scenarios can look like. Some things that can commonly happen as a board member or just in general when you are working with other people or volunteering with other people. So, here we go. Difficult people scenario number one. So you are facilitating a subcommittee meeting for a board that you're on, and the subcommittee includes a difficult board member who tends to take over your meetings and doesn't leave time for others to express their opinions. At the end of your past two meetings, other board members have been frustrated and you've come to no resolution. This can happen quite a bit. Sometimes when you have people that are very talkative, that want to share their opinions, and it leaves, other people leave frustrated because they haven't been able to share their opinion or give their feedback or offer their advice, and you end up leaving and nothing has happened because this difficult person has taken over. So, how can you prepare to lead this meeting? Here are some ideas. Number one, you want to send out the agenda before the meeting. That way, everyone comes prepared to discuss the topics. So, this leaves a level playing field for all of the people that are involved in the conversation. When they're coming together, everyone's ready and they can come with their thoughts. Then, you want to start your meeting stating why you're there and what you want to accomplish. I do this quite a bit in my mediation trainings that I've done because it's important. Sometimes people come just thinking they're here for a meeting or they have their idea of why we've come together, and you want to remind them, all right, we came here today because we are going to come to a resolution on how to deal with this problem. Or by the end of this meeting today, we've come to create new bylaws. And so that's what we want to do by the end of this meeting. Then you want to set a time limit for comments on each topic that you are discussing. So you can even have on your agenda, say you have a 2-hour meeting and there are different aspects of the bylaws that you want to talk about. So if you have a 2-hour meeting, you can say 10 minutes is for introductions and check-ins. Then you can say 30 minutes is to go over a certain aspect, article number one or whatever. And so then you say, all right, because we have 30 minutes, that means, and we have 10 people here, each person has an opportunity to talk for 3 minutes. And say, that way we can ensure that everyone is able to have that opportunity. And then say, does everyone agree to 3 minutes? You can even choose a timekeeper and ask them to start their stopwatch at 3 minutes. And then if somebody is going over that time, then you can just politely remind them, we agreed to, don't forget, we agreed to 3 minutes. Everybody's going to talk for 3 minutes. So can you wrap it up? Or you can even give them a 30-second warning or something. Say 30 seconds, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to have to stop you here because your 3 minutes is up and we'd like to move on to the next person. And so that's one way that you can do it. If the difficult board member tries to keep talking, you want to once again interrupt politely and say, thank you so much, Bob, for your feedback. The 3 minutes is up that we all agreed to at the beginning of the meeting. If we have more time for comments later, please feel free to offer those. And so it's acknowledging, basically when everybody comes together on the same page, then you can go back to the rules, the ground rules that you set at the beginning of the meeting, which were that we agreed to 3 minutes. And then you're going to conclude the meeting by going over the what you did accomplish. Yay! We got all 5 of our bylaws written. Thank you so much for your commitment to listening to one another and to keeping your time commitments. And when you do those things, people will have that expectation. And so the next meeting will go even better because people know how it's going to run. People are going to come prepared, and your difficult board member is also going to be prepared to not talk as much. So, scenario 2. You and a fellow board member were asked to work together to plan an upcoming event. During your first meeting, you divided up tasks for each of you to work on, but to this day, the board member hasn't completed any of those tasks or has not met any of the agreed upon deadlines, the things that you agreed to do. And they've also missed your meeting. So what can you do to address this? This is a situation that can sometimes be tricky because there's only 2 of you, and so it's a one-on-one situation. And this can happen. And there can be all kinds of ways to deal with it. Here's some examples. So first thing you want to do, if you don't have a meeting on the books already, is reach out to the person and ask if you can meet. And you don't want to go into great detail. You want to say, hi, Susan, or Susan, I'm wondering if we can get to, or Susan, are you available to meet soon to discuss the event? And you can even say, can you provide me with some availability? Or even better, because sometimes then you don't want a lot of back and forth, you can list a few times. Susan, I'd like to meet with you. Please let me know which of the following days and times you're available. And so then they can immediately reply rather than kind of having to go back and forth. You don't want to go into detail about your concerns in the email, because then when they come into the meeting, it's likely that they're going to come on the defensive. They're going to come already upset or frustrated or nervous, or they might just not come at all because you've kind of gone off in your email, and they don't want to hear that. So the fact of the matter is, we know that they haven't shown up for the past few meetings, and we'll address what happens if they don't later. For now, we're assuming that they are going to show up for the meeting. You want to start by saying, thank you so much for coming today. I know that we want to talk about the event overall, but before we go into details about moving forward with the event, I'm hoping that we can just do a check-in to discuss where things stand. And you want to make sure that when you are talking about where things stand, that you are explaining it with facts, that you're explaining your position, that you're not being accusatory, you're using examples. So for example, rather than saying, you never show up for meetings, that's a very general statement. Because they have actually shown up for one meeting. And if you were to say that to me, and I would say, that's not true. That is not true. You're wrong. And it is, so you would want to state the facts. You want to say, we've had 3 meetings scheduled over the past month, and you did not come to 2 of them. So I'm wondering if you're still interested in this project. So this is you expressing your feelings. You're saying, this is how I feel. You're actually kind of saying, I could be wrong, but I'm still wondering if you're interested in this project. So you want to use I and we statements when possible to explain how you feel about their behavior. So rather than saying, you said that you'd make phone calls and find a caterer and you haven't done either, do you see how that can sound accusatory? What you'd rather do is say, again, using evidence. My notes from our last meeting show that we agreed that you'd make phone calls and find a caterer, and I'm disappointed that these haven't been completed. So you're not placing it, it's not blaming, it's not accusatory. You're using these collective statements to state how you feel. You're getting across how you feel, but it's not in a way that's going to offend the other person. And so then you want to pause and give them time to state their position. It's not about you. Remember, you want to talk about, even at the beginning, this is why we're here. And so you're going to give them time to respond because maybe they've been busy, maybe they've had personal things going on. It really doesn't matter why. Um, at the end of the day, you have the same goal. And so you want to make sure that you've allowed them room to share so that you can come together and come up with the solution. And so keeping these things in mind will help you move forward rather than get stuck in feelings. And that's really what you don't want to do, is get stuck in feelings. And of course, if the person doesn't show up or respond to your email, then you want to seek support from other people. You don't want to do it alone. You don't want to address it alone. You want to focus on the facts still. You don't want to focus on feelings because those can be addressed one-on-one with the person. You don't want to make it about gossiping, just saying, again, this is what's happened. What should I do to move forward? Can you support me in moving forward and work together to come up with the best solution? Then finally, scenario number 3. So you've served on a local advisory board for over 2 years, and the bylaws require members to transition off after a 3-year term. The board recently appointed a new board chairperson, and the new chair requires weekly reports from board members, monthly check-ins by phone, and a few other new responsibilities that you've never done before as a board member. You're feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. So how can you address this issue? The first thing that you want to do is list the advantages and disadvantages of actually addressing the issue. Sometimes in certain situations, we might, be frustrated, but in the long run, it may be more advantageous for you not to do anything because either things might smooth out or the benefits of or the disadvantages, you may end up potentially ruining relationships or ruining opportunities in the future to work with the organization, and you really care about the organization. So you may decide, it's not worth it. Also, it says it right here that because your board term is ending in a few months, you might decide that it's actually just not worth it for you to confront them because you want to stay in good, on good terms with everyone, and that you can manage a little bit longer. However, if it really is affecting you negatively, feel free to move forward with a plan to confront the board chair or connect with others about it. So you can get advice from fellow board members. You want to, again, try not to complain, but you want to say, okay, I'm having some trouble with all of the new requirements. Do you have any advice on what I can do to ensure that this is, getting done? Or if you find that they say, I'm having the same trouble too. Okay, well, how can we work together, you and I, to meet the needs of the board chair? So that's one option that you can have. The other option is that if you do want to handle the concern by meeting with the board chair, you want to use the same tips that I talked about earlier in scenario 2 for a face-to-face meeting. So you want to reach out to them directly, say that you would like to set up a meeting with them, start out the meeting by thanking them for coming, and just say, hey, I'd like to do a little bit of a check-in based on what I'm experiencing as a board member right now. I know that I'm transitioning off soon, but I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed or whatever. So, and then, like we said earlier, give them an opportunity to respond. And then, say you want to work together to see how to move forward. So here are a few resources. Feel free to check them out when you have time. And thank you so much. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions.